You say you're fine, but I can't see right through. You're holding your secrets for way too long. This can't keep going on. With every lie, they keep on hurting you, getting away with everything they do. This can't keep going on, no. We're gonna find them, and I'm gonna fight for you. They better start hiding. We'll be running with the lions, lions. We'll be running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We'll be running with the lions, lions.
Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday, and welcome to another episode of Gloves Off. I'm your host, Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. I hope all of you had a happy Valentine's Day, and I don't mean that to be controversial. I feel like Valentine's Day has become a little controversial. Basically, if you're single, it could be a thing. If you're together, it could be a thing. But I just mean that in a very open and loving way. So if you are not with anybody, I hope you had a wonderful day celebrating yourself. And if you are with somebody, I hope you had a wonderful day together. So in any case, I'm very, very excited about today's episode because this is our first big sponsor highlight. I am so excited to have the amazing team of Business Done Better, Kallaus and Brendan McCauley, here today with me because I have to say these two and their company have literally changed my life because often we can start a business and the business runs us instead of us running the business. And that's often because as entrepreneurs, we're really good at what we do, but there are often systems behind the scenes that have to be developed and developed in a way that you can be hands-free. A way that you can do what you love in your life and something is happening in the background. Well, I didn't really know how to do that. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I've had many businesses over the years, and this is the first time with their help that I've actually been able to run things hand-free so I can concentrate on the things that I love doing, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. Now, again, so Rebecca is, I'm actually going to read a little bit of their bio because there's a lot of things. So you can actually follow along with me. So they're the founders of the Done Better initiative, and they specialize in transforming operations for coaches and creators. They have 30 plus years in the business, designing operational systems that drive results. And again, we as entrepreneurs, we are not operations people, and we have to recognize that. I know I recognized that very, very early on. So they are such a great team because Rebecca is the visionary. So she identifies the gaps, the solutions, and navigates the obstacles to success. Brendan is the operations guy. He connects the dots. He holds the hands. He creates the hands-free systems and optimizes the workflows. So it's really a dream team. I like to call that the dream team because you need, for a very good business to run effectively, you need a visionary, you need an operations person. And frankly, if you're a solopreneur like me, you don't have the operations person, and that's where Business Done Better comes into play. So let's get them here today. I can't wait to see them. Hello, Rebecca, Brendan. So happy to have you guys here because literally you have changed my life. That's what I was saying in the intro. I literally feel like I have hours extra that I now use to create other businesses, but whatever. I know you guys got me. So I'm so glad that you guys are here. So I actually want maybe to start with Rebecca, and I want you to tell me a little bit about how you got into this. What drove you to create this business, and how does this fuel your passion?
Yeah, so my original background is actually in holistic health. So it was through that journey that I realized I had a natural acumen for business and that a lot of holistic health providers did not. So I found myself helping all the same people or a lot of different people with all the same things. And I was like, oh, I can actually create a business about this because I realized that there were so many things that I was able to see that so many other people were not, and that I really enjoyed it. So how my brain works is I'm always looking at trajectories and solution oriented, where I want to, anything that's not working optimally, I'm like, okay, how do we make something better? So originally that was with holistic health, and then I transitioned that into business. Worked with a lot of solopreneurs, also a handful of companies in the 17 to $20 million range, helped restructure sales and marketing departments of that caliber. And then a couple years ago, created Business Done Better, where I was like, okay, it actually started with websites originally, where I was like, there's just so many things that people would do that were not in integrity. And I just saw all these things and I was like, I don't know anything about websites, but I was like, but I need one. And where do I go that I can actually trust that it's going to be done quality and integrity, that I'm not going to create more problems for myself because there's so many things that I don't know that I don't know. And it's just when you're starting a business as a solopreneur, you're just, there's so much for you to navigate. And so I was like, okay, like my ultimate goal with Business Done Better is to have one place that people can trust, where everything in our doors, they know that they're taken care of. We got your back. You know that we know what it is that we're talking about. We can help support you. We're always going to guide you in the right direction. So, but when I started everything, first off, done better doesn't mean that we know better. It means that if better can be done, then we do that. So it's a constant process of innovating and improving things on every single level. And when we started everything, it was just me. I was a solopreneur myself, so I know that experience firsthand. I actually originally started my first company on $250 and homeless, so that's a whole other story. But I literally started it on nothing, no resources, no nothing. And then now that was years ago now, so I'm very grateful. We have a double-digit team that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So I know we'll get to that. But even I had a couple really strong team members, but it was still just me running things from the top. And that was a struggle because it's like, you said earlier that you need a real business always needs a visionary and operator. The founder is usually the visionary, somebody who has the vision to bring something into reality that didn't previously exist. But the creative visionary is not usually strong on operations. Mm-hmm. What I've learned in my time with working with business owners is that any founder is usually a visionary as a primary, but then whatever their secondary is usually how they run their company. For most people, that sales or marketing is most common. Mm-hmm. For me, it's operations. It could also be client fulfillment, like you're really good at servicing the client, but you may not understand the rest of the components of business. So that could be a possibility as well. And that's a very strong combination. But with operations means I'm weak on sales and marketing, but I understand operations, but from a visionary perspective. That doesn't mean that I'm the operator. And that took me a lot of years to figure out. And so I knew, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that just really struck a chord with me, because I think it's so important to maybe even just pause on that point. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we think we know everything, or we think we can do everything. And it's so important to understand what our strengths and what our weaknesses are. So I love the way that you're explaining this, because it will really reinforce to the people out there who are watching to understand, where we need help. And I made the same mistake. I thought I was pretty decent at operations, because I would say secondarily, I'm decent at operations, but I'm not an operations person.
Well, so I knew I needed an operator, but I could hold down the fort enough. But you cannot scale by yourself. You need other people, depending on what your goals are. And for me, I have very grandiose goals. And so for me to accomplish that, I knew I needed other strong people around me. When I met Brendan, that was a game changer. So it was a little under a year ago now. And just, yes.
Well, I think this is a perfect time to switch over to Brendan, because I remember the day. So for those of you who are out there, the audience that's watching, I would like to say that I've known Rebecca for about, I think it's almost been 2 years now. we started in a business capacity. We've gotten to be friends, and she's just such I like to call her the badass business entrepreneur. That's what I call her in my head, because I'm just so impressed with what she's been able to do. But I remember this moment where she and I were talking, and there was just so much going on. And she said, I just really need an operations person. And I swear it was about a week later, she tells me about Brendan. So welcome, Brendan, to the show. I want to hear about your experience in operations and why you and Rebecca were such a great fit, because I felt like it was a match made in heaven. It was like the business dream team the minute she told me about you.
So just a little serendipitous story behind that. So the way that we met was had nothing to do with business in any way, shape, or form. So, for Sell 75 Hard, have you ever heard of that? No. So it's a 75-day challenge where you have to basically complete certain items every day. And if you miss one item, you restart, basically from day one. And so I'd done it a couple years ago, wasn't able to complete it to the end. I was like, okay, I'm going to restart. She was the only crazy person that said, yes, this sounds like a great idea. I would absolutely love to do this. And of course, everyone raises their hand, and she's the only one that actually followed through. I'm like, I would love to have an accountability partner. Do you want to hop on a call? That turned into a 45-minute conversation of, oh, you've been in the same soft. Oh, you serve the same audience. Oh, you're 30 minutes down the street from me. Okay. It got weirder as it went. And then 1 week later, we're like, all right, well, let's go meet up at a barbecue. And I would just like to get to know who you are and how you serve. And she's like, okay, well, these are all the things I do and the assets I have. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I do and these are the assets that I have. And it couldn't have been any more hand in glove fit if we tried. So, you put good intentions out there, and obviously hers was a week later, and she's like, hey, Kalpana, I got good news. So that was really cool. And just, it's at this point, it's two halves of the same brain. So I'm just honored to know her and obviously to have met you through her, which has been really exciting. So yeah, that was fun fact.
That is fun.
So my parents divorced when I was a kid. I turned to binge eating, and then I struggled with weight all the way through high school. And then as I transformed physically, I really started to master myself mentally. And that got me into network marketing. That got me into personal development, personal growth. And I fell in love with it. And I said, okay, this is the direction I want to go. And at the same time, I was on the 40-40-40 plan. So you get your undergrad, you get your graduate degree, and you climb the corporate ladder. My whole family's been in healthcare. So that was the projected road for me. And my specialty was more like operations and just things of that nature. So I knew I was good at that, but I also had this passion. And I think a lot of the listeners that are here maybe find or have found themselves in that same position where you have a certain talent, skill, knowledge, ability, you just want to get it out there, but it's like, how do I do that? So I got a little risque, and basically I cashed in the 401k, and I said, okay, I'm going to play full-time entrepreneur. And when I went home and I asked the at-time girlfriend I was living with, I said, hey, I want to do this. Do you support me? And she said, okay, well, can we pay the bills? I said, for 3 months, absolutely. And then we're going to figure stuff out. And through the midst of this whole thing, I got every certification, every degree you could possibly imagine. So, it started super in health and wellness. Then it got into life coaching. Then it got into speaking. Then it got into training. And I'm like, I have all these plaques. This is great. What the heck do I do with this stuff? And I think a lot of coaches, consultants, trainers, authors, speakers, they find themselves in the same spot. It's like, I have so much knowledge. I know I just need to get in front of the right person. I need to be able to do this. And so I very much found myself in that same spot. It's like, operationally, I know how to run things. Business-wise, I know how to do it. But then how do you merge these two together? And through a lot of just up and downs over the past 9 years since I've done that, and obviously now having met Rebecca, I'm like, okay, well, how do we put this together? And what it ultimately led to is us just being able to create a system that's plug and play. Because if you can truly be in your zone of genius, I know we're going to talk about this over here over this next hour. It's so easy for us just to do this. And I know this is the part that's a nightmare for so many people. And so my biggest thing I would say for if you guys are watching this, do the one thing that you are so phenomenal at that it just does not even feel like work. It just comes to you innately, and then just allow other people to do their things. And the second that Rebecca and I started having this conversation, she's like, she's total visionary. I love to play in the weeds. Let's just do that and have a team that can help us out. Oh my God, it's so much fun. And it's just it feels like it flows. That's what it comes down to. It flows.
That is so fabulous. And what I realized after everything that I just heard from the two of you, I mean, Rebecca, I knew about her story with the holistic health. She and I have a lot of synergies there because also in medicine and I really am a big advocate of holistic health. We share a lot of the same viewpoints. And I also knew that compared to other physicians, I was better at the business aspects than most of them were. And then now I'm listening to you, Brendan, and I did the same thing. After I left medicine, I became a life coach. I wrote a book, a speaker, all the things. And I'm like, what the heck do I do with this now? How do I turn this into something that can support me? So I was exactly where you are. And then I figured out, obviously, the visionary part of it, because that's my jam. And then I couldn't figure out the operations, which is what Business Done Better has helped me with, and all the things you guys do for me. I mean, things are just, we are on fire with my projects these days. And they get turned around quickly, efficiently, and so well, because really, I obviously I'm going to ask you more questions, but I get so excited because it has changed my life. The things that used to keep me up at night, they don't keep me up at night. I put them in Slack. I tell what I need. I get some information. I get some strategy advice. And, because I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do, but I have no idea how that gets done. And nor do I really want to. Just tell me what you need.
And so a friend of ours yesterday asked us to come on and basically same very similar style of what we're doing here. One of the questions they asked, I said, like, why do you guys do this? Right. And so, and I'll say from my perspective, and Rebecca has her answer, is, so selfishly, and that's even, I think, why a lot of times people get into coaching, because your message becomes your message. You have the ability to kind of walk somebody through those steps. And so, like, for us, if I know we can just play in our gift, not only do we change your life or every other life that we touch, but then you have this really cool ripple effect, because now you can do what you were meant to do, and you go out and you help 10 people, and then 10 of these help 10 more. And all of a sudden it's like now 100 people are being helped, simply because we could remove some blocks or, anything that was standing in your way. And you just get to be like the badass that you are. So that for us is just really fulfilling. And I know, Rebecca, what's the whole reason? Why do you love doing this?
So, for me, everything with the Done Better initiative started with me just seeing certain things in the world that just didn't sit right with me. And I was like, I can't sleep at night not doing every single thing possible to make the world a better place. And I have a huge problem where I don't know how to do things small. That's probably been my biggest roadblock in business, is that the 3 things that you need to start a business are an MVP, minimal viable product, so the most minimal version of something to get it started, sales, and marketing. Those are the 3 things that you start with. Those are my 3 weakest points, but I'm very strong operationally. And so with business, like, you want to lean into your strengths. So I leaned into that, and I was like, okay, so what are the operational solutions that I could put into place to really make the world a better place? And so, so why I do this is that I see certain things on how something can be made better, where whatever your goals are, I take it personally to make sure that we fulfill on those things. I want to make sure whatever it is that you want in life, I want to see that come to fruition. And so we operationally put those things in place to make that happen. And that just, to me, there's nothing better in the world to just give somebody that gift of living their best life.
And Kalpana, just to still behind the scenes, she gets so excited to get into a Google sheet and just to figure out how things work, and totally nerds out on it. And everyone's like, does she really like it? And she's just got this giant glow on her face. She's like, it's so awesome. That's how you know someone's really in their zone of genius. So just, little fun behind the scenes things that you're like, oh yeah, she does do that.
I had a client one time. We were doing, he had a contact list, and it was in Google Sheets, and there was something that we needed to restructure to import it properly. And there was see, I'm going to do it again. Something, Google Sheets doesn't usually have updates, but there was one big update that they did in the last couple of years. And I was like, and it had just happened at that time. And I was like, yeah, Google Sheets just did this thing, and now I can make this. It's so much easier. He's like, you got way too excited about that just now. And I'm like, but it's really exciting. I can move your stuff so much easier. That's not exciting to you. Okay, I'm going to stop.
I mean, that's when when you get excited about the craziest things that nobody else gets excited about. But that's
now
amazing.
I have Brendan. I have a director of operations, and she gets just as excited about the same nerdy stuff. We nerd out on ClickUp all day long. I mean, it's just the dumbest tech nerd automations, whatever the thing is. We're like, we did this thing, and we're like, that's awesome. And only our team really gets it, but we all get equally excited, and it's fantastic.
Well, you know what? And it is something. I think the excitement comes from knowing something can be done in a better way, of course. But I feel the same way about the CRM. I have to actually talk about the CRM. So I'm going to tell you that when I first met with Rebecca about 2 years ago, and we, obviously I needed some minor work done. I mean, the funny thing is I didn't think I needed them much, but now my businesses have grown, so I need them a lot more. So I love that I'm in that position thanks to them, because they helped me with so many operational issues that I had that I didn't know how to deal with. But here's the thing. She talked to me about this thing called a CRM, and I generally knew what it was, but I didn't really think I needed such a thing because, what do I need that for? That just seems silly. And I was like, yeah, I don't need that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Like, I don't know, 2-3 months later, I started to realize that, I was using a CRM. I was using Pipedrive, and then, then I have Zoom, and then I had other different things. And then I got into this cycle one day where, I don't know, this thing locked me out, that thing locked me out. Then I had to change passwords a few times. And then I thought to myself, wow, I have so many different things that I forgot what's where. I don't even remember what thing I have where. And I remember she said something about everything is housed in this one thing called their CRM, and my website, marketing, and I could do invoices. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that thing she was talking about wasn't so crazy after all. So I'm going to have you elaborate a little more on the CRM with that intro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And your story is actually one of my favorites to tell. Do you mind if I mention the website, the original website piece?
Oh, yeah, you can mention that. Yeah.
Is that was so there when you first came to us, like you had a website on WordPress, and you had one of the worst horror stories that I had heard. Like there's been so many horror stories, just like really not in integrity things that people like do sometimes with websites that just make it really difficult for somebody to stop paying somebody money, or they can't access it themselves, they don't know how, or whatever. There's so many different things behind that door. But that was something that your website didn't, among other things, didn't represent you. And so to really build out your company, your brand, we needed to rebuild your website. And so I was like, I'm thinking, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was how we got you to think about the CRM. Because I was like, okay, the best way to build the website is on the CRM. And then it's literally everything is all in one place. Your website, right, your contacts, your emails, your anything with phones, all your marketing stuff, your invoicing, even tasks that you have connected to things. You can set up an affiliate manager. You can run a course. You can have an online community. And it's literally all in the same platform.
Which is so amazing. And that's when I realized, I think that's exactly what happened. Once I saw the website was on there, and then the best thing was, listen, major changes on websites, nobody really probably should do. That's not really good at these things. And it takes me a long time. But I love that when I'm playing around with copy, I can kind of mess with it myself, and I like that, I don't like that. So it's nice for us to feel like we can do those things. My original intention with that was that I was going to learn how to do everything so I'd never need you guys, but then I realized that that was the dumbest idea in the world, because I watch how fast the team turns it around and how slow and anyway, I start and I get stuck anyway. After 2 steps, I'm stuck.
I want to comment on something, though, because there is an important piece here that I think it is very, very common. When you first came to me, there was a lot of fear because you had been screwed over by a provider, and you were like, I don't want to have that same thing happen again. I want control. I want to be able to manage my stuff, to edit something, because that person was screwing you over, where he was charging you an obscene amount of money to make an edit, to change a picture and change some like really simple things was a charge for no reason, because you could have done it easily yourself if you knew how and had the access, and that was what you wanted to make sure never happened again. And so that was the promise that I gave you coming in to work with us, was I was like, we will get you have access to everything is yours. We don't hold anything hostage. It's yours. We show you how to do it yourself if you want to. You can come in there where you don't need us if you want to do it all yourself. You have that freedom. And you were like, cool, that makes me feel comfortable. I love that. I'm in. All right, I'm learning it. You're like, but I'm really like, tech makes me nervous. It's so overwhelming. And then you got in there and you're like, oh, it was like 3 days later. You were like, this is so easy. I'm having such a good time. This is so great. I can edit everything myself. And then like a little bit more time passed and you're like, I'm doing a great job by myself. But you guys did it so much better. Can you just handle it for me? We're like, yep, we can do that too.
But you know what the nice thing is? That it's not like, I feel like it used to be the Wizard of at all. I mean, you talk to me about a website, I don't even know how to look at it in the back end or whatever. The thing that this created for me was this transparency. So I know where all the things live. I know all my landing pages. I know all the things. I know how to edit small things, but often it still takes me a minute because I have to think about it, whereas the team really knows how. So I just send them a message in Slack. It's just not even worth my time to really get in there and do it. It'll take me 10 or 15 minutes, and 10 or 15 minutes of my time, it'll take them 1 minute. Well, maybe not 1 minute, but I'm just saying, I'm just giving a ridiculous analogy because it really does take me, even when I know how to do it, it takes me 4 to 5 times as long, I would say, that it takes them. Because they're in there all the time. They know the system better. Because sometimes if you don't look at something, you forgot where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Well,
so
and
it's huge.
And that's one of the other things is that oh, sorry, Brendan, go ahead.
I mean, and that's the beauty of it, right? So, and you have the option. Either you can do it yourself. We have a team that's there to leverage and to help you. And obviously, we try to put as many assets in there as we possibly can. I think part of the reason why Rebecca and I we merged so well on this and chose that we were getting, married to this software in this capacity, because obviously there's a lot of different options out there. Like when I started getting into that coaching space, I went through upon almost every CRM software you could possibly imagine. Like I tried it. And the only way you're going to know, unless you happen to talk to somebody that already knows like everything about it, is you put up you pony up the money, you say, great, I'm going to try this. And it's like, oh, it has this, but it doesn't have this. Oh, it does this, but it doesn't do this. Or, oh man, I got to super glue like 5 things together to make it happen and do what it's supposed to. And I remember 5 years ago, a buddy of mine was like, hey, we're doing this thing up in Orlando, it's practically in our backyard. Like, I think you should come. And I was curious what the prices were. So I went down to the bottom of the site and they have what they call like a double opt-in. So essentially you have to put in your contact information first and then it shows you the prices. So I saw the prices, I hop off the page. I kid you not, within 2.5 minutes, I had a text, I had an email, and I had a voice note, like a voicemail on my phone that says, hey, saw you were on the page, super excited to have you come, noticed you didn't check out, I'm going to resend you the link, and then I got a text that has the link on it. And I had never up until that point seen anything so smooth. I'm like, what is this? How do we use this? This is the coolest thing ever. And then just over the course of 5 years, you learn a lot of the stuff the hard way. So we've gone through a lot of, okay, don't ever do that again. For example, don't blast a text message out inviting people to a bunch of events if you're not ready to take that on and have systems in place. So we've done a lot of the hard, stupid stuff, and we've learned like what to do, what not to do, how should it work. But yeah, it's so powerful, especially when you use it the right way. It just allows you to do what you are really good at. And then we get to geek out on the back end and be like, all right, watch this. And, oh, okay, Rebecca, Terry. How excited all right, so Terry is a guy that we work with that does massages. And you should have seen the smile on his face. He's like, dude, I didn't even send that text to this person to confirm. How did that happen? He was so excited. For 10 plus years, he's been doing this manually. That one thing by himself, he was like mind blown. He's like, bro, I love you guys. This is so cool. And he was raving for like 15 minutes straight. And that is like the smallest little thing that was such a big game changer for him. And it's just fun.
Well, it is a big thing. If you're doing that manually for years, it's annoying and nobody wants to do that. It's not fun.
And I think Brendan and I forget sometimes too, because we're so involved in all of this. This is our world. And so like the bar that we hold ourselves to as far as like what's possible with tech, we're immersed in experts all day long. And so we're like, it doesn't hold, we're like, oh, that's the thing that means so much to you is that. That's interesting. Like there was somebody that was having a conversation and it was like they just couldn't figure out how to send a payment link was their bottleneck. And it's like, those are things that we already have built into the system for you in pre-built templates. You don't even have to set it up because we've already done that for you. But yeah, well, Terry was, yeah.
That's because you guys are good at this stuff, because I know I get stuck on things like that and it literally can ruin my day. If I get stuck on something and my frustration increases to a certain level, I know where that level is and I know now to avoid it, because I already see the frustration inching up and I'm like, this is time to send a message in Slack. I am not spending any more time on this.
We're so glad. And that's something that we're always working on, improving certain things to make sure that we can streamline things as much as possible, make sure that business owners have the least amount of stress. So I also want to have one of our core values is radical transparency. I want to also be transparent with the software that we use. So it is high level. So Go high level for people who are newer to the system. But so that's something that they've been around for 6 years. It's a company that how they're designed as a CRM software is different than any other CRM software, where they're designed to have an agency be the white label middle person to the end client. So as a business owners should never sign up with High Level Direct. I'm also sharing this because High Level has crossed a certain threshold of market awareness where a lot of people today have heard of High Level. So I want to make sure to be like, oh, that sounds like High Level. Yes, it is. Brendan's been with High Level for 5.5 years now. I crossed over my 5-year mark. We have someone else on our team that's in a similar time frame as well. So we have multiple people on our team that are literally OG in the space. I actually work with multiple department heads at High Level. I've edited some wireframes, I can officially say. So like we're very, very involved in that space. But the High Level is a $1 billion company. They have over 2,000 employees. They're over 6 years in business. And so that's something that you're getting as a business owner. You want to make sure that whatever tech that's very central to your business, there's certain things you want to make sure that you always think through, that it's very reliable. They have the money to do bug fixes, that they're going to continue to innovate, that it's the best solution now and has the trajectory to continue to be for a long time to come. So you have all of that with High Level as a core company, but High Level is not designed to support the end business owner. They're designed to work with the agency, and so that would be us with CRM Done Better. So with CRM Done Better, you're getting that reliable $1 billion tech with the personal touch point with us. We have a ton of things that are built in that are not native to High Level, that are only through us. We have pre-built systems that are designed specifically for online coaches. But then we also have a bunch of other things. Obviously Terry's masseuse. He's not an online coach. So we have other outliers as well. And a lot of our pre-built solutions work for those companies, and we can always build custom things as well. But an online coach literally come in, plug and play, get up and running on day one, which there's no other system that can really say that. You're coming in on a blank slate. You have to build all the things. Even people in the high level space, we know a lot of people in the space, and we've never seen anybody who gives as much, even for 3 times as much money as we charge.
I'm really glad you went over that. I remembered that we had this discussion. It was a while ago, so I didn't remember all those big details, but that's huge. And that's really important for people to know. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to actually talk a little bit about your challenges that you guys faced early on, and how did you overcome those challenges? Obviously, what was, years ago is not the same thing we're seeing today at this very moment. It's easy to think that, oh, they just got lucky or it was easy or something like that. So let's talk about those challenges that you faced.
I think that there are some people who do get lucky or have the first person or the first couple people they were like interacting with happened to be the right person to move the needle forward for them in some way. That does happen. For most people, that's not the case. It's not luck. It's hard work. It's being punched in the face. As an entrepreneur, you have to talk about gloves. As an entrepreneur, you have to be able to take a punch direct to the face and get back up and be like, next. So it's something that you have to be able to handle really intense lows and really amazing highs as well. And the amazing highs, that's not all what it's cracked up to be either. So that's something that you have to really put yourself in those shoes to make sure that you can actually handle both sides of the coin, and sometimes on a continual basis. So it's very, being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of emotional swings. I think that you either are or are not an entrepreneur. So Brendan and I definitely have that bug. So that part hasn't really been a challenge in itself, but is for a lot of people. The biggest challenge that for me, and then also just, I think this is very common, is just wearing all the hats. When you're first starting in business, you're doing all the things. There is no other way around it. I was doing things for years before Brendan, and same thing in the reverse. And then when you actually, you can't have a team right away. And that's, you have to make sure that you do things in the right order. You can't just rely on somebody else to do the things for you. You're the visionary, you're the founder. It's your responsibility to make sure that things are done properly. And a big challenge is knowing who to trust. When you know that you don't know something and you're like, okay, like for me, marketing as an example, that's my weak point. So I had to go to like different marketing specialists, and we finally are starting with somebody next week for the first time. We haven't had any marketing to date for the most part. We have a marketing department as of the last couple months internally, but I haven't had an expert that I could find that I trusted. So I had to just figure everything out myself, and that's my weakest point. So yeah, that's my answer for that.
Yeah, yeah. And marketing is a real challenge. I would say that's been my weakness. And I've taken lots of marketing courses just so I could do what I need to. And then finally, you figure out who you can trust, because I believe that you almost have to learn enough about the foundation so you're not getting taken advantage of. And that's why I started to learn as much about marketing as I could, because I didn't think I was actually going to do it. But then when somebody pitched me about something that they do, I know whether it's legit and I know which thing to pick to help me the most. And I think that's really an important thing for entrepreneurs to know. So, Brendan, I want to ask you this question. So with the systems that scale, that was a tongue twister, systems that scale, can't talk today. What are the tips that you have for entrepreneurs, and how do you create these systems?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest thing is starting with the end in mind. Just get hyper clear on ultimately, like, where do I even go, right? So if you look at a GPS and you plug in the map and you say, okay, well, here's the address, here's where I'm at. It doesn't go from you and then channel away up. It starts from there and then it channels away back, and then it finds the most optimized route. So like what we do is something we call the coaching codex. And essentially just imagine a triangle. So your first leg on that is synergy. I want to know, who do I serve? How do I serve them? What is like the one result that I help this person achieve this result in this period of time? This is what it looks like. Mission, vision, values. Like, you just get highly solidified on how you want to come to the market. How do you want to show yourself? How do you want to come across? Like, you with this podcast, tremendously well put together. And, the fact that you come on here and you have like guest experts and everything, like, that's a beautiful vision to have. But a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know if I can do that, or what would that look like? And like, you've brought yours to fruition. So for me, I think it's, how do you take these different skill sets that you have? Okay, well, I am good at this, but I could do this, and I think this is really cool. And, oh, but I am good at that. How do you turn that into, okay, just one result, and then you leverage your skill set to walk them down that path of whatever the end goal is that they want to do? So that's the synergy portion. Once you're clear on that, then the second leg is the systems. Okay, so let's just say we have the ideal client journey. We meet them this way. We have the sales call. We bring them into the environment. We have communities. We have events. Like, having systems that will support you, you're only as good as the systems that you have in place, right? So the fact that you put in your CRM system, you put in all these other pieces, and you have a team like ours to be able to come and help support you, those are systems that allow you to hop on and do a show like this, and then to still have client calls, and then to still go and do your own events and all these other things. And then the last portion, scalability. Do we have it where there's a certain cadence? Do we have certain SOPs? Do we have all these pieces in place where I can now bring on one person, 10 people? I can have multiple clients. And like, what are all the things that, okay, assuming that you open this and the floodgates open, like, can I do this at scale? So, I'd say probably just considering those three things in particular. And one thing that was tremendously helpful for me that I think kind of helps somebody down this journey, there's a book that I absolutely love. It's called Good to Great, written by Jim Collins. And so you've read it, I'm assuming. Okay. So the two major bullet points. Number one, having the right person on the right seat on the right bus. And when like Rebecca and I came together, we were very clear, and it was hard for me to swallow being an operator. And the reason why is because when you play entrepreneur, but you're stuck in, I'll say not stuck, but like you're more like operations, you're somewhat beholden to whatever the visionary is and where they want to go and what that looks like. And that happened to me multiple times, where I'd work for this much with the idea of a payoff this big, to then turn around and be like, hey, we don't have any cash flow, we can't pay you. And so I very quickly associated that if I'm running operations and I'm the implementer and doer, it wasn't a good spot for me to be in. So like, that's something Rebecca and I had to figure out, where she could be this beautiful visionary, but we can still have, amazing conversations of where do we want to go? What does this look like? Are we totally aligned? And when we were finally able to do that, I was able to actually be in my seat and feel really good about it. And then the second portion is like three pieces. You got to love what you do. You got to be the best at it. And it's got to make financial sense. And there's a lot of people that don't have a financial model, or not in a business model that allows them to really grow. Hence the reason also why we want to be in the software portion, because, you can create it almost like a subscription style, so we can be really great at it. It creates monthly recurring revenue, and we can support people at infinite scale. So whatever you're going to do, biggest thing I would say is be very careful on time for dollars, be very careful on one-on-ones. And if you can definitely do the one-to-many model with some type of membership or subscription piece to it, that is the only way to really start doing this on a larger basis. And that's where the systems come to support you. That's where the clarity comes to support you. And then you can really move forward.
That makes a lot of sense. And most people don't look at it like that. So that's really, really solid advice for our audience. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that.
And I want to add some things onto that where everything that Brendan just said, I think like with your audience, with their health providers, there's a lot of people that don't resonate with the word coach, but they're in the health provider space and they're wanting to service their clients. They're also wanting to have financial freedom and really scale their business. And that's something that, like Brendan said, you have to be careful of the time for money piece. Anything that's time for money, it has a limit. Both in terms of now and retirement plan, being able to extract yourself out of the business, there's a very low ceiling for that. And so it's something that the only way to really transition that into something that does make sense financially, to have financial freedom, is to transition into a coaching business, to have a coaching business be part of the practice. Doesn't mean that you're not stopping servicing your clients, but it's something that you have that relationship where your clients are being serviced physically in your practice, and then there's also a way to connect with them virtually as well for a greater audience. That you're able to do the one-to-many model, have things be in recurring revenue kind of a framework. So there's a lot of things there that I think might be new ideas to some people.
Oh, absolutely. Most people don't think of things in that way at all. Most of the clients that I have are really still stuck in the space of they've got this business that they put a lot of money into, and they're just trying to make a decent enough profit so that they can live life in the way they want to. So, my goal is to help them through those steps and then obviously get even beyond there to be thriving and scale and all those things. And that's why I love the fact that we're, collaborating together on so many different things, which is great. We can help more people. Collaboration is key in my opinion.
100%. Yeah. And just like on that, just the sunk cost fallacy is something that so many people get stuck in. It's like, I put so much money into this, therefore I must keep going to make it work. And I think that's something that's really important for people to really always be brutally honest with yourself about everything in life, but especially when it comes to your business. If it's something that you have to really know beyond any shadow of a doubt, this is going to work. Because sometimes it's the, what's the saying, 7 feet to gold or whatever it is, is that what it is? Did I say it right? I always screw that up. Where it's like you might just need to go a little bit further, and then you hit everything that you needed, and everything just unfolds in the most beautiful way, and you were just this close, and you just needed to push a little bit more, a little bit further. Or sometimes you're not going in the right direction. It's not going to pay out no matter how far you go. And that sunk cost fallacy, you could just keep sinking more in and it's still not going to have that payout. And sometimes from the outside, that's not always seen clearly. And so it's something that as the founder, it really is on you to really be brutally honest with yourself about which position somebody's in.
That is so important what you just said. Now, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question to that. How does one know? How does a founder evaluate that?
It's a great question. There's a handful of different ways to look at that and to think about it. For me, you and I have had a lot of these conversations, the analytical side versus the intuitive side. For me, I am naturally very analytical, but I have a very strong intuitive side as well. And oftentimes when it comes to those kinds of things, I have to really, I'm not even 100% clear sometimes which side it's coming from. There's so many things analytically that I'm pulling from for just like general data points. And then also from an intuitive sense, I get certain like downloads as well. So you can look at it from either way. So but we don't always have the data. So if you don't have the data, then you can like always pull on the intuitive side if you're getting any signals there. But on the analytical side, run the numbers. That's the biggest thing. And even if you are on the intuitive side, always run your numbers, have a pro forma, have projections where if I do this, then I will get to this. Here's our break-even point. Here's where we will become profitable. Know what those numbers are. What is that journey? That's one thing. You have to make sure your profit margins make sense, that you actually have the ability to make profit. I worked with a company one time. Oh, I have so many more stories of like companies in the past, but there was one, they've been in business for, I don't know, at least like 4 years, something like that. And they had a doctor on staff that the owner had made all of these promises to. And for whatever reason, I was the first person that had ever run their numbers. And when I came back to, I did like a huge pro forma, and I came to him and I was like, the doctor's time is not factored into your prices. There is a 0% chance that you're ever actually going to get paid what he's telling you. It's not possible with the numbers that are currently being run. Something drastic needs to change or it's never going to happen. So you have to make sure that the numbers make sense. And then once you have that part, okay, then you have to make sure that do enough people actually want what you have? What is the consumer feedback? What does the audience say? Are there enough people that are actually going to pay for your products where you're always having to make assumptions in business, but you have to be calculated assumptions. So you have to make sure that I assume that with this amount of people, we can hit these numbers, but can you actually acquire that amount of customers to hit those numbers? And that's the part where that's a whole rabbit hole of things that's like a whole other podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then
Oh,
that was a great answer. Oh, go
the
ahead.
mom test, if anyone is like having questions on that, in terms of like having reliable data that's not biased for customer feedback, there's a book called the Mom Test that
Oh,
will tell you if you are totally off base in how you're collecting that data of customer feedback or if you are influencing that. So that's a great book. And then Billion Dollar Bullseye, by Jonathan Kronstadt is my other like just number one go-to with business, that one runs through from start to finish everything about running a business.
oh, that's fabulous. Okay, those are definitely great resources. And again, I agree with you. I think it's definitely you have to have that analytical mind and you have to have a good sense of your intuition. So thank you for that answer. Now, my next question is for Brendan. Now, actually, well, kind of both of you. I mean, I feel like one was manifesting and we went on this a little bit, but I want to kind of talk about it a little bit more because it wasn't just Brendan, it was a whole team of people. So while Rebecca was manifesting, you got manifested, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
and then and then the rest of the team came into fruition very shortly after that. So let's talk about how that all evolved.
Yeah, well, I had the team. I've had a couple team members that have been with me from the very beginning, and then yeah, Brennan and I came together a little under a year ago. So I'll have him say his side of that
But
experience.
then it grew rapidly after that, right?
We've been growing at a steady pace. I think we're coming to a pivotal point where sometime this year we're going to start to have a major uptick in our team growth. So I can already see that coming. We hit capacity on our admin side, so we already like started staffing for more admin to come in. So that's a whole other story about like it's not just like I want to find the team. There's like definitely an analytical process for that, but yeah.
100%. Well, let's hear from Brendan's side.
Well, I think probably even before you start growing the team, one thing that I really appreciated just when we had this dialogue is getting hyper clear on the kind of individual. I'll take somebody that is totally in integrity and in alignment with our values without the skill set versus somebody that has the skill set and just maybe doesn't have the personality or is not a right culture fit. So I'd say first and foremost, hire for the type of individual and how they show up, because that makes all the difference in the world. That is the mindset difference between somebody that says, oh, this is too tough. Oh, I'm not putting in the hours, even if they're good at it, versus the person says, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you show me? Yes, I'm more than happy to invest like a couple extra hours so I can figure this out and learn it and go above and beyond. And so I think just right out of the gate when you're going to do this, you have to find that piece and you have to be tremendously clear on what does that look like, because they are fully a reflection of you in every form and fashion. It was interesting. I remember it was one of the stories I read when we were in my graduate degree. So there's always two chances that you have to make a first impression. So one is that first initial impression when you hop on with somebody. The second impression is when something goes wrong. And if you have team members, like when things go wrong, how they treat it totally makes or breaks how they look at your company. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you. We might not even find out about it until later, but we know that we also can trust, we can totally instill and say, like, look, go make the decision. We trust you. Like, you've got this. That level, I'd probably say trust is, they actually did a study, like the number one quality and factor that all employees approve and totally appreciate in a supervisor. And it all came down to trust. And I'd say, Rebecca, 100%, every person that we have on there at the highest level, regardless of whatever it is, we know it will get done in some form or fashion with excellence. So I think establish that part first. And then the other portion I found to be really helpful. A lot of times what I'll see people do is they'll say, okay, well, I just need this general role for these general concepts of what I think I need done. One thing that I learned, and actually this one came from Ryan Dice, which is really cool. Figure out your process and your workflow to say, okay, from the time maybe for a customer onboarding or lead fulfillment, whatever, they start here, they go here. Here's all the things that need to be hit. And then you take each one of these specific roles, and then that's what you assign to a person. So they're hyper clear on where they stand, in the process what the expectations are versus just this arbitrary list of here's your title, here's your job description, and then you just kind of like fling stuff at them. So I think that goes again with just starting with the end in mind to get hyper clear to say, okay, great, here's the 15 things specifically I need for you to accomplish. Because Kapana, there's always two reasons for massive upset. It's unclear communication and unmet expectations. And as long as we tackle those two, like the world is a much better place and life is a hell of a lot easier. And I will say Rebecca is the most direct person I have ever met. Sometimes ad nauseum, and we go back and forth on it a little bit, but I totally appreciate it because 99.9% of the time, she's usually correct. But yes, so I say starting with those two things and then reverse engineering it is tremendously helpful.
That's awesome. So, Rebecca, how did you find somebody to admit that you're right 99% of the time? I mean, that's like impossible, but you found it. So you manifested well.
Brendan was a manifesting. Brendan was totally a divine intervention. I said, we just both put it out in the universe, and it's amazing just our backstory and how it was just the perfect conversion. For everyone else, I have a amazing hiring process, ways that I hire. So that's a whole other rabbit hole in itself. But the most important thing, exactly what Brendan said, is his core values. So we have an operational part of our business, ops done better. And for that piece, we actually implement operating systems into established businesses. And so it's a 3-month program, and we run through a whole bunch of things where the first thing we always start with is mission, vision, values. So you have to make sure that all of those things are clear. That is your North Star for how you're running your company. It is infiltrated into every single aspect of what you do. Your sales, your marketing, your fulfillment, your operations, your internal everything. How you speak, how you receive things, how your team communicates internally, how you set things up, literally everything. That's always the North Star. So when it comes to hiring, I mean, that's like the epitome of that. If you're not clear on your mission, vision, values, it's just all sorts of nebulous for who you're bringing on your team. But that has always been so clear, even before I articulated it into an actual phrase. That's something that it was felt. We actually had our multiple team members doing internal projects, putting together new hire onboarding with very minimal directives. And I was so intrigued of how they we didn't have the values articulated yet. And it was amazing that everyone everyone said the same things, because even though we hadn't laid it out, it was felt. Every single person exhibited all of our core values without being able to articulate exactly what they were. And now we have them actually detailed out, but you can feel and experience that throughout everything in our business. And that's how we hire. If someone doesn't meet those things, they're not on our team. I have a full team of A players. There's one person on my team that is technically a B when that person came onto our team, but the rest of our team, let's see, how are we doing on time? Do I have 1 minute to explain that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay, cool. So, because this is an important concept when it comes to teams. So there's A, B, and C team members. So an A person is somebody who they're over delivering, they're always going above and beyond, they're always self-starters, and they're going to raise up everyone else around them. Okay, they're always going to lift everyone else. A C is the exact opposite. They're going to underperform. They're going to complain. They're going to cause drama. They're going to cause a lot of issues in every aspect of the company. They're not going to be very productive. And they're also going to bring other people down to their level as well. A B is somewhere in the middle where they're performing pretty much as expected, but it also means that there's things that they could be brought up or brought down depending on the environment. So our whole team is so strong that one person is coming up to, this person's also young. So I think that in due time, this person will become more natively an actual A player due to the environment that we've already created. No one ever intends to bring on C's, I would think and hope, but you do on accident. It happens all the time though. How? Because you don't have the framework of understanding what that actually looks like. And even with a B, there's going to be certain personality things that are different between an A person. So for example, an A person is never going to be jealous. They're never going to, they're never even going to think it. There's certain things with certain people on my team, and they're like, oh yeah, that doesn't even make sense to me. And I'm like, yeah, because you're an A person. But a B person, they're going to have certain tendencies that are a little bit different. So there's certain things to always watch for, but it's totally fine to hire a B if you have a majority A environment, because they're going to raise up everyone else. Like Brendan said, because of that, I can trust every single person on my team to deliver every single thing with the utmost excellent professionalism, execution with clients, internal project, whatever it is, we had somebody that we was talking to last night, and he's like, I've worked with a bunch of other fulfillment companies. Not a single one delivered. Some of them delivered next to nothing. Others delivered literally nothing. He gave one example, 3 months, $1,500 a month. So we paid $4,500 a month for this one person, delivered literally nothing.
And it happens all the time. So we're running out of time, so I don't want to cut you off. But that last thing was amazing. So thank you for that, because I think that's something we all can relate to. It was such a pleasure having you guys here. I mean, I even learned things that I didn't know. So that was just fantastic. And I know that the audience enjoyed it as well. So I can't wait to keep doing Business Done Better with you guys. And thanks so much for sharing all your amazing insight on the show. Bye. Bye, Rebecca. Oh, I said the wrong person and said bye. Sorry, Brendan. Whoops. Clicked the wrong thing. Bye, Rebecca. We'll see you soon. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. They're just a dream team for sure. And as you know, their website is there. If you need any help with anything, they are there for you. And next week, I'm going to be interviewing Jason Goyenko. So see you next week.